So I wanted to do a actual video on using Orb Producer Suite 2.0. Now I had bought Orb Producer, or no, I didn't buy. I used a demo of it back when it was 1 point something, and that when it went to 2.0, you can't. They don't have a demo anymore, so I had to actually buy it. You get a 30-day 30-day option to get a refund. So, but I wanted to go through actually using it instead of like trying to show you what it is. I'm not going to talk about what it is or what it does or how it compares to other programs. I'll do that maybe in another video, but I wanted to actually make something with it. And I wanted to show a workflow, and let's just see what we can do. And I'm not going to make electronic or trap or anything like that. I'm going to try to do something instrumental. I'm just going to go through my workflow. So I'm using Ableton as my DAW. And over here I have a few plugins I'm going to be using here. So I got the Orb Suite right in here. And then I'm going to be using for the sounds themselves, I'm going to be using East-West sounds, which will be more orchestral kind of sounds. So here's my flow. So when I'm using Orb Producer, I like to set up the MIDI tracks, color code them. I like to group them and name the group Orb. And each of these MIDI tracks is going to be one of the different Orb components. So Orb Producer has 4 components: the chords, the bass, the melody, and the arpeggios. You have to use a chord. That's just how everything's based off the chord engine. And here's an example. This is the chord engine loaded in. It's defaulting to C minor. I'm going to switch that to E minor. And let's just see what it sounds like. All right, so right off the top, I'm not doing, it comes with its own synth, but I'm not going to be using those sounds. So let's make 4 more tracks. And I'm going to color code these. This is going to be the instruments. So let's go ahead and put, let's say for the chords, I'm going to use a guitar, like a classic guitar. So I loaded up East-West's. They have a Gypsy library, has a guitar sound on it. I'm going to go ahead and route you. If you're not used to routing, you basically have your where you put your audio on another track, like in this case it's an East-West plugin for a guitar sound. It's on this track right here that I'm highlighting, and I'm going to pull the MIDI from here where it says Orb Chords. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and this says MIDI from, choose Orb Chords. Down here, choose Orb Chords, monitor, in, and let's see what that sounds like. Now we go back to Orb Chords, and let's change the density a bit. That'll give us more notes. It's a little too deep on that. gonna leave that there. I don't really care for it too much, but I'm gonna leave it there. I'm gonna throw another Orb Melody onto the next one over. So you can't use Orb Melody unless Orb Chords is in the system. So Orb Chords determines how every other plugin works. And it's similar to the Captain plugins. They work exactly the same way in architecture, in that you have the root of the system is the chord engine, and everything is based on that. So if we listen to this now, let's hit play. It's created a melody here automatically. So let's see what it sounds like. Yeah, sounds pretty bad, right? So let's. At first, it's gonna not sound right. So we're gonna go ahead and modify that a bit. Let's put another for the melody. I want it to be. I want it to be a mandolin. Now, I said it sounds bad. I didn't mean that to be a disparaging remark on the software. It just, by default, that synth in there, it just doesn't work with what I'm doing. That's all I meant. So let's rename this to guitar. This to mandolin. And like before, we route the MIDI from the melody. Set the monitoring to in, and let's see what that sounds like. Now, that doesn't sound like a mandolin too much to me, and the reason for that is East West's mandolin as a trigger. To get the strumming of a mandolin, you actually have to change the velocity. It's based on the velocity. So we need to pump the velocity all the way up, and that's going to give us the nice strums. Now let's listen. There we go. Now, for me, this song is too upbeat. I don't really like happy music, and this sounds kind of happy to me. I don't know why that is. I went to E minor, but the chord progression here just doesn't sound as dark as I normally get it. When I use something like Captain, I'm not sorry, when I use something like Orb Composer, usually E minor gets a more somber feel to it. Maybe the tempo is part of the problem. I'm going to slow it down a bit. That sounds a little better. Okay, it's a little better. And I'm not really a fan of this melody, but it's not bad. I don't want to lose it. So what we could do is make a theme. But before we get to themes, I want to finish out the rest of the the plugins. I mean the plugins. The plugins. So I want to finish out the Orb bass. And for that, I don't know, I'm thinking of something maybe like what would a good folksy bass be? Could be like a bass guitar, or you could do like actually probably put a stringed instrument, like some sort of bassy stringed instrument. Let's see what I have in here. it's really low, that might sound nice, even though it's not too realistic. I guess we could use another guitar. We could throw in a different kind of guitar. Well, it's not going to get deep enough. That won't either. Let me think about this. Yeah, let's just, for now, let's just throw in, we'll do like one of these legato basses. It's, certainly it's not the right genre, but might work just for fun. Just for fun. Let's turn off the sound. Okay, it sounds a little more serene, and then maybe what I'm thinking for arpeggiation, what would be great, I think, my simple opinion here, would be a banjo, right? Because a banjo would be really good at hammering out a lot of these little notes like this. So let's go ahead and throw a banjo over here. So in East-West, in the raw, it's called RA, raw. It's they have an America's instrument section, and under plucked instruments they have a mandolin, ukulele. They also have a banjo. They also have a different kind of guitar there. It might be good too. We're going to use the banjo. The RR means round robin, which means that the notes, the articulation or the actual recording of, not the articulation, the recording of the note is randomized so as you hit the same note, you get a slightly different, varied recording played back different times. So it makes it sound more human. So I usually go with round robin, RR. Some of these, I don't know if you're familiar, if who's listening, if anybody listens to this recording, and you are into East-West, you'll notice that some of these, like especially if you go into like let's say woodwinds, you'll, oh boy, I decided I was going to show something and now I can't find it. I hate it when that happens. Well, you'll see some of these, maybe it's under strings, like violin, maybe. There we go. It will say round robin times 4. It gives you an indication of how many times it can change an alternate note. So, I mean, not an alternate note, an alternate recording. Yeah, let's get that right. So, going back to East-West raw package, not RAW, RA as in the god, I guess. I guess there's a god raw, isn't there? Like Egypt? I don't know. Anyway, in the Americas, there's this plucked instrument package. There's a banjo here, and it sounds like this. I like it, and I think it'll be really good for doing arpeggios. So we're gonna go down here, go arpeggios, do this, and let's see how this sounds. Okay, the arpeggios are wrong. So the arpeggios are wrong. This plays more like a harp right now. So let's solo the arpeggios actually. Turn that off. And let's solo these. Let's hit play. Yeah, that's not right. So it has high density. I could go higher. That's better. Okay, let's hear it with everything else. Okay, so I'm gonna put a let's go back. Let's go to the master track here. Let's get a I don't want that. Just take a basic limiter. And let's up the gain a little bit. And let's listen again. So that's okay, so that's one theme. All right. Now, before I get into actually dragging the MIDI out of here, I want to make another theme. So, well, actually, I want to add one more thing. Now, here's the thing. In Orb Composer, which you may not be, if you're new to Orb Producer, you may not even know what Orb Composer is. I started with Orb Composer. I didn't start with it, but I used Orb Composer before I used this. I used it over the last several months, and I've really enjoyed it. It's buggy, and they're not selling it off the official site anymore, but it does things differently. And this is thinking horizontally, where you have each track as a different melody, a chords, bass, arpeggio. But in Orb Composer, you're thinking very vertically, where you're thinking about your instruments, like your orchestration. So you could have like 10 instruments. You could have violin, piano, 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 viola, trombone, all this stuff stacked up. So when you look at this, you say, well, how do I do this? I mean, how do I make multiple parts here? Now, you could just take the same melody here. Like I could take this melody. Oops, sorry about that. That's the synth. I could take this melody here, and I could throw it on a violin, that's for sure. But I want the violin maybe to have another melody, like an alternate melody. I think we can do this. I've only done this once before, and I'm not sure if this is going to work, but I think we can drag in another instance of Orb Melody. And I believe it's still attaching itself to the same chord, the same root system. So it says, okay, I'm going to make another melody instance. And we'll just rename this to, I don't know, alt melody. And let's make another, call it violin. Let's code this correctly. And something on here. I could have just, yeah, that's the bass. What is that? That is the. This is the bend. All right, now let's go ahead. Now, my favorite violin in East West is under the Gypsy package, and they do have a solo violin package. Yeah, it's good, it's okay, but the Gypsy violin I think has more emotion in it. It's more emotive, that's for sure. Now we're going to run this to the alt melody. And the thing I noticed about this, though, see the notes are too short. So we need to bring the density down. Maybe even more. Well, let's try that. Let's see what this sounds like. In fact, I want to solo the violin. Okay, for an introduction to the song, that may be fine. So now if we put it all together, let's just see what it sounds like. Alright, so to me that sounds pretty good. Now, one reason I like to group this is that you can do effects on the group. So if you needed to, you're not going to do a build up, you would like with EDM, but you did want to cut out all these sounds here, like you had a beat track out here. You could put an effect on here to like endless smile or something to cut out the audio and ramp up this cutout like a high pass or a low pass filter. You could do that, and it would affect all these that are in the group, which is nice. You don't have to do it to everything, every track. And grouping it is also convenient. You can just hide these things. And these themselves can be grouped. These instruments in here can also themselves be grouped up. But for now, I want to create, I'm going to tab over. In Ableton, you hit tab, and you're in the track view, I mean the horizontal view. And at this point, I want to drag the, I want to drag this, I want to start building the intro. So, let's see, let's tag this. Let's go up here. Set a tag. What do we call this? Intro. So, although all these instruments are playing at once, and what's nice about that, it proves something interesting here. It proves that you can add more of these orb elements in here, and you get separate melodies. Like this is an alternate melody. The melody that's playing here is not the same melody that's been generated here. These are two different melodies. And so if I modify this melody, I don't really want to touch it right now, but if well, maybe I can change like the velocity. I'm in the velocity right now. So if I move the velocity to 49, it's not going to affect the velocity of this one. So see, these melodies are independent. And I'm assuming I can do that with the arpeggiation. Like if I had another instrument, maybe like a flute or maybe another mandolin, I could throw in as another arpeggiation. Same with the bass. In fact, let's do that. Why not? Let's have some fun right now. So if I came in here and made a secondary arpeggiation, and that's great. Let's just rename this to ARP. I need to save this. I'm scared it's gonna crash. Call it number 3, and we'll call it folk music. All right. So let's go back over here. And make another instrument. And make it another mandolin. Well, maybe not. What if we make it like a steel guitar? Maybe. Let's try different things. I don't know what this is going to be. Let's try. Okay. Where are you, steel guitar? I saw you one time. Oh, it's under Gypsy. Spanish steel guitar. If I do this. That might be interesting. Huh, I wonder what that would sound like. Let's route this from the Alt ARP. Ableton has this annoying feature that every time I modify something, it puts the plugin right back in center. Okay, we're going to solo this. That's a little intense, but... Okay, that might actually add something if we put it in context of the other guitar. It could sound like the original guitar could add to the original guitar as an embellishment. So let's listen to everything together. No, it doesn't add anything. Let's change that. Go back to soloing. How about this? It's a nice beat, but I don't think it's gonna fit. It won't really fit the intro. That's better. Let's see, that sounds nice. And let's go. Just gonna call steel. Great. So it's definitely really busy right off the bat. So to make the intro, I'm going to start off with just a few things. Maybe just the guitar, banjo. So let's listen to that guitar. Under here, I'm going to drag this out. I'm working with a small screen today, so get this out there. So we got the guitar, then maybe not the melody, that's the mandolin. Okay, now see, this is why I should have named these better. I should have named this as, come on, rename. No, could be other instruments. But I think this was for the mandolin. this was for... Okay, the banjo was the arpeggiation. That's what I want. So you drag the MIDI straight out. Banjo's down here. Now, the way this works is right now, all this stuff is currently being routed, so it's not going to play the MIDI. So if I hit play, like if I was here and I was here and I hit play, it plays everything because it's still routing from up here. So to get the actual sounds working, we need to switch this back to all instruments. All right. Now, what does it sound like? Okay, here's a synth in there. That doesn't belong. It's coming from here. Okay, let's try that again. All right, sounds nice. And then maybe we duplicate this up a bit. Maybe we throw the mandolin in here. Mandolin was the melody. So let's get that going. What does that sound like? Maybe we throw the bass in with the mandolin because it seems like that would be about right. Okay, so we got first 8 bars. You know what? I want the strings to stand on their own. They sound so good. And we'll bring the mandolin with something else. Maybe... And maybe what we'll do is bring the... let's do that again. And then maybe we throw the violin. Where are you, violin? That you were the alternate melody. So let's do that. Yeah. Now what does that sound like? That's okay. I think the violins are taking away from the mandolin though, and they're a little loud, so I'll look at that. Maybe the steel guitar? That was the alt arpeggiation. Oops. There we go. Try that. copy this, put it over there. And that, and then maybe we do is this bass. So maybe we should run the bass the whole way through. I don't know. It's gonna sound repetitive. Anyway, you get the idea. This is. Oh, didn't want to do that. This all was the wrong color here. Alright, let's hear the first 8 bars. The thing about the bass that sounds funny is this bit here. I was thinking of a bass would sound better. It was going bum, 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 like that, but these are strings now. So the reason it sounds funny is it's doing this thing. That bit right here needs to go away. That. Yeah, that sounds. Oops. Okay, that's better. And let's turn that back off and from the beginning. Now things have to change here, but I think that's going to cover the intro, and I think that's all I'm going to do for this video. I wanted to cover using Orb Producer, not Composer, to show what it can do up to this point. I'm not going through, of course, all the stuff it can do. You notice I left it pretty much generating as it gave me data. I changed velocities here and there. I made some subtle changes, nothing great, because I just wanted to work through the workflow of making a song. And I don't want to be here for hours just trying to tweak this. I might get into harmonizing in the next video. The next video I want to come up with the next part. So this is the first 8 bars. And let's make sure it's saved. And it needs to lead into something now. Now that we're here, set a new flag. This will be the next section of the song. And I don't know, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it, but if you like the video, you know, let me know. I want to do a review of the software without doing like, you know, this does that, that does this does that, which a lot of people cover, and that's important to cover that, but I didn't want to cover that because everyone else has done it. And I also wanted to cover a music genre that I don't see getting covered very much. A lot of people are trying to come up with electronic music with this. I think I can't speak for others, but for myself, I find this challenging to come up with electronic ideas. But then maybe I'm just not good at it. So that could very well be. There is no beat component with Orb Producer Suite. You know, unlike Captain plugins where you get Captain Beat, Orb Producer does not provide that. So if you are looking for electronic music, you'll need something to, you'll need that beat generation or beat creation aspect outside of Orb Producer. I will compare this to another video. I'm going to do another video on Orb Composer, and we're doing a walkthrough of what it's like creating music. And it's completely different because Orb Composer is powerful in its own way. And in a way, it's more powerful, but it's a lot more kludgy because you have to do everything in a separate product. It's not integrated to the DAW. Then you have to bring it in. At least for me, the easiest way to do it is drag the MIDI in, import it in. It's a pain, but it gets good results, I think. But I think this isn't bad. I mean, choosing for just choosing the pretty much the defaults and a few minor tweaks, it's a nice little tune, right? And it's not too bad. So I'll continue on if people are interested in it. If people downvote the video and say, "Oh, this sucks, man," then I'll stop. But anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. The genres that I'm good at, if you want me to do different kinds of music, I'm not very good at modern genres, just so you know. But I can do like orchestral or folksy kind of music like this. So I think that covers it for now. I'll see you in the next video.